三千と日の光身を群青の海の色さやけき島の闘魂が正義が生みしむての
Yeah, that
Yeah,
sounds, that doesn't, do not sound appetizing, but I assure you, I ate that thing in seconds.
yeah, we always try to use the best of local ingredients and you know, local vegetables, local produce.
Yeah. So I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that you guys weren't just a bar. You had legitimate food there.
You're making me hungry by showing that again now as well.
No, so my wife had the sonen shampuro, and
Yeah.
that was basically it's noodles and fish, and that's delicious of itself.
Yeah, yeah, it was good. It was good stuff.
So my next question would be is how has the ownership of the Dojo Bar impacted or changed or redirected your life on Okinawa?
Oh, it's been huge. It's been the single biggest factor in my activities here in Okinawa and even my own personal development here in Okinawa. So the Dojo Bar kind of sits at the center of a number of different projects which are enabled by the Dojo Bar. And I had a feeling that the Dojo Bar might be that, but you know, until I realized it, I didn't realize quite the number of possibilities. So for example, one of the things that kind of side projects that started not long after I opened the bar was I started working with another Brit located here in Okinawa called Chris Wilson, who's a photographer and now a videographer as well. And Chris is a very talented guy.
He did my family portraits one year.
Yeah, Chris is amazing. He's a perfectionist. He's just a lovely guy, energetic, friendly guy, and very, very passionate about great photography. Anyway, he was kind of intrigued by, he'd been asked to do portraiture of a couple of martial arts teachers here in Okinawa, and he found them, you know, visually, their faces and their character, he found them quite fascinating. I really liked his work, and I was like, well, you know, the Dojo Bar is the perfect venue to display your work. And I know that people coming there will be very, very interested in seeing this. So let's work together, let's collaborate. And that collaboration continued and still continues today. In fact, yesterday,
that's true.
Yeah, just yesterday, we did another photo shoot this time at the Asato Dojo with an Okinawan practitioner.
He has a book, right?
Yeah, so Chris published a book several years ago now of the first 58 portraits.
This is a bit of a side note, but do you have a copy of that at your place?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Would you mind showing that, or is that something that's a bit out of reach?
Oh, I don't have it with me right now. No, I'm sorry, but there is a website. If you again on Facebook, go to Karate Masters Portraits. Then there is a website there that features not just the 58 portraits in the first book, but over 110 or 111 portraits that have been done so far.
And what people may or may not understand here is like this is actually pretty significant because Chris is not Okinawan, he's a Brit, like James said, and to have access to the masters like this is rather rare, and especially to the number that he's had.
Yeah, we were fortunate in that you know, once we started, and I think the first person we photographed was my teacher because obviously he was most accommodating. But once we started and we started giving copies of the pictures back to our subjects, and these are very, very high quality portraits. I mean, way better than honestly most people would normally have. Mm-hmm. Then you know it gained a momentum. We would gain introductions and referrals. I would meet people at the bar and ask if we could photograph them, and they would see the pictures in the bar, and generally they would say yes. Now and again we had refusals, but you know, mostly people said yes. And so it grew and grew, and then the pictures started to be used in other places too. So, for example, the prefectural karate division, the local government division to promote Okinawan karate, would use the images in its posters for its seminars and events and things like that. And that was great because that was one of the things that we hoped would happen, is that this very, very good quality portraiture would be used for promoting karate. Yeah, exactly like that. So there's a nice picture of Chris there.
And this is his Facebook page, but this gives you an idea of the quality of the photographs that James is mentioning. And again, what's amazing is that these two guys are capturing an immense amount of karate history. I don't know if you were aware of that when you did it, but you're capturing history that may have just disappeared when these gentlemen disappeared.
Yeah, absolutely. This kind of pretty comprehensive photographic record didn't really exist before. And that was one of the reasons that Chris was highly motivated to do this, is that, you know, I think, you know, this is a resource, not just for us, but for everybody now and in the future. And we hope that that will be the case for a long time.
Yeah, and it's pretty amazing. So let me see here. Oh, this is the part I have to talk about it. I'm not enjoying talking about this part. But recently you had to close the doors. And what are the plans for the future? I mean, when I say close the doors, you literally had to permanently close the doors. You want to talk a little bit about that and what your plans are for the future?
Yeah, sure. Well, look, you know, since the beginning of 2020, basically visitor numbers to Okinawa dramatically decreased. In fact, basically almost cut off from anywhere outside of Japan. And like everywhere else, you know, January, February, March, we watched kind of the emergence and spread of coronavirus around the world. By April or May, it was pretty clear to me that the whole year was basically not going to be great.
It was clear to me by the time they found meth gators in Tennessee and Florida.
Yeah, there you go. So I think 2020 is going to go down as the year that, you know, what do we call it? The Anis horribilis as the queen used in the past. So anyway, I made a decision rather than trying to hang on and just. I mean, the Dojo Bar is a business; it costs money to keep it there. We have to pay rent, etc., etc. But the Dojo Bar premises and the Dojo Bar, let's say the spirit of the Dojo Bar, are really kind of are actually two separate things. And I had a conversation with Okama Sensei, who runs the karate dojo and is one of the most famous karate teachers here in Okinawa. So is his dojo and his karate museum. He said to me, you know, the Dojo Bar is an idea. You know, it's an ideal. It's something that people look forward to. It's not necessarily just the physical location. And that I thought about that for a little while. And then when I decided to actually close down the premises, the overwhelmingly encouraging feedback that I got from people saying, hey, well, we look forward to the next one, wherever it's going to be, was very, very, well, it's very, very encouraging. So, yeah, for this year, the Dojo Bar has gone into a bit of a hiatus, into let's say, hibernation. But there's every chance that it will revive again.
If you're wondering who Okama Sensei is, he runs arguably the first karate museum in the world.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of did it just because he literally had all this stuff, and he just put it on the walls. Is that my understanding?
You know what he said to me? He said to me, he said, no one else was doing this, so I felt that I had to.
Yeah,
right?
that's what I mean. Is he's like, I have all this stuff, and here's a great shot of Okama Sensei. See if I can pull one of these up here.
And that's kind of how I felt about the Dojo Bar. You know, I felt nobody else was doing this, so I had to kind of do it, right? And his karate museum is very much with that spirit, but he's been doing this for a lot longer than me.
Yeah, and I speak from experience. Never underestimate what looks like an elderly Japanese or Okinawan man, because they are still light years faster than you think they are. I remember the one time I got invited to my Kaicho's dojo, and I got to see him do a kata at his full speed, and it's just, yep, he would still wreck me. He's almost 80, and he would just wreck me.
He is very, very fast and very, very accurate and very effective. And you know, that combination means that he'll put very big people into a lot of pain very, very quickly. But he's very he's a very humane person. He's always does it with a smile and a laugh, you know.
I'm breaking your arm, but I'm smiling and laughing while I'm doing it. Again, I'm going to mention a lot of things, and I will try to put links to everything I mentioned and that James is mentioning in the description below. But if you want to get a more detailed image about, especially Hokama Sensei, Jesse Encamp's Karate Nerd in Okinawa Season 1 has where he visits Hokama Sensei.
Yeah, Jesse did a great interview and visit there. Hokama Sensei also features prominently in the Anthony Bourdain episode on Okinawa too. So Anthony Bourdain, when he visited Okinawa,
you feature prominently in too.
Well, I helped to set up and facilitate it, and then I sort of came along to help with the translation as well. Although Hokama Sensei speaks pretty good English. So yeah, that was quite a good experience. So yeah, I recommend that people check that out.
Yeah. Now we talked a little bit about the future, but you hit on it a little bit. Dojo Bar 2.0, is it happening? Do you want to announce anything?
It's a bit early to do that yet. Where are we now? It's August 2020. You know, we are, I would estimate, at least 6 months or a year from returning to some sort of normalcy in Okinawa. So I am waiting to see how things develop here, but also overseas, of course. So the Dojo Bar is very much will be required when the international community can come back to Okinawa again. So yeah, I'm going to see where we are at the end of this year, and then try and make a plan for 2021. Then I think the hardest thing about 2020 is your inability to plan anything, because you just don't know what's going to happen, right?
I was on telework status for 4 months and 4 days.
Yeah.
And my kids, their school year's already been called, and it hasn't even started. They're going to be homeschooled.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for those who homeschool, I never had, you know, my hat's off to you. It's, you hear about it as a child, and you're like, oh, that'd be great. And now I'm experiencing it as an adult, and it's like, man, there's a lot more that goes into this than I ever thought.
It's hard work. No question.
So how can anyone who wants to help support you in your efforts to create a Dojo Bar 2.0 do so?
Well, the Dojo Bar online activity is still alive and strong. So, and I intend to keep it that way. The Dojo Bar website and particularly the Facebook site are a gateway of information of things that are happening here in Okinawa, particularly karate related stuff. And I intend to keep using it as that. So I hope that will keep value for people and keep people actively subscribed. That'll be the place where I'll let people know when we have a concrete plan to reopen the doors again somewhere. So I would say, hey, you know, keep an eye on the Dojo Bar page, particularly the Facebook activity. Yeah, that's where you'll find out what's happening, and we'll mobilize again to get the doors open again.
Now, one thing, it wasn't on the questions I had, but I know that you just started some virtual tours as well.
Yes, indeed. So, yeah, so we're kind of running, there's kind of two different kinds of activity. The virtual tours are, we just done one or two so far, but essentially visiting different locations in Okinawa, particularly those that have kind of interesting history. Some related just to Okinawan history, some to karate. We're actually planning to do a couple of these tours are going to be more like, almost like karate instructional tours as well. Those are really interesting. I think even to people that are not sort of, you know, karate practitioners, they might find them an interesting insight into beautiful places in Okinawa. Yeah. And then the other ones, the activity that we're doing is actually, you know, instructional. I'm teaching online, and I'm assisting other Okinawan teachers to also teach online via Zoom, etc. We'll also be producing more pre-recorded kind of seminars and, let's say, dojo visits as well. So all of that, the information gets published on the Dojo Bar online page too.
Now, before I let you go, I gotta ask you. You had the Dojo Bar for 9 years. You lived there for a little over about 11, 10 years now.
Yeah, yeah.
And I gotta ask, what is your favorite memory from the Dojo Bar time, and what is your favorite memory from your time in Okinawa thus far?
That's an incredibly difficult question to answer.
Okay, well, let's put it this way: if you had to pick like a handful of like events, like you know what, these three things they stick out of my head, or this event just sticks out in my head.
Well, I have to say, one of the things that always sticks in my head as a very sort of tender moment in that happened in the Dojo Bar was when when Anthony Bourdain was visiting, and we were filming a scene in the Dojo Bar where we laid out a dinner. I invited a lot of senior Okinawan senseis to come and have this dinner with Anthony Bourdain and talk about Okinawa and talk about karate, etc., etc. And it was kind of unscripted, and he was just asking questions, and I was doing my best to translate. Anyway, one of the teachers there had brought along a couple of his students, and one of the female students actually spoke pretty good English. And she was asked about what karate meant to her, and she made a lovely statement about karate practice showing the love in Okinawa. And that actually made it into the final program, and it's actually almost the final scene in his program. And that I know I sat there and I witnessed that, and that was a really heartfelt, genuine expression, completely unscripted, and I thought that was quite wonderful. So I'll always remember that one.
Now, what about you personally on Okinawa? Besides being me, what was your favorite one?
It is a very difficult question to answer because there have been so many experiences that I have great memories about, and they're still constantly happening all the time. You know, I mean, in some ways I feel quite lazy and privileged and lucky to be here, because I know a lot of people would love to be in the same position, and I always feel like I should do more. But actually, a lot of stuff happens anyway. Like a lot of you know, training opportunities, a lot of visits, a lot of you know, like little documentaries and things we put together, and just a lot of kind of you know, blessed moments, you know, when you meet people or when you train together and you learn something. So yeah, it's really hard for me to pick out one, to be honest. But that's kind of part of the experience in living Okinawa and trying to be active in the community here, particularly karate community, is that you get this constant flow of opportunities to be creative and to be involved in things. So it feels like you know, these are meaningful in some way.
You know, I would actually really concur with that, because it took me 2 years of solid participation and involvement, but one of my most profound memories on Okinawa was the night I finally got to visit Kina Kaicho's dojo. And
Yeah.
to experience that is, the Okinawans live in a very unique way. It's very, very humble. There is more to them than meets the eye, and I don't think you can ever accurately say that. It's one of those things you have to experience. And Kina Kaicho is just an incredibly humble guy, and his second in command, Kina Toru Kina, I just call him Kina Sensei. Again, they're humble guys, and just going there for that one night it's exactly what you said. It's just one of those experiences that it kind of happens almost sporadically.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. So before we wrap up here, though, is there anything you want to say about the story of the Dojo Bar? I mean, I think this is the first time where the interview's been centered around the history of the Dojo Bar.
Yeah.
But before 2.0 kicks off, I really wanted to make sure that 1.0 was captured in history.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for this opportunity today. It's been a really nice kind of trip back through memory lane, looking at the pictures of Dojo Bar. And I, you know, like I say, that's all there on our Facebook site. So welcome everybody else to come and do the same. You know, I'm looking forward to Dojo Bar 2. I can't tell you exactly what it's going to look like or exactly where it's going to be, but I can tell you that it will definitely have the spirit of Dojo Bar 1, and we'll try and make it even better. You know, truthfully, we will try and make it even better than the first one.
Hopefully a little bigger. Little bigger would be nice.
Well, yeah, sometimes it did get very, very crowded, didn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember the time I took my wife there, I asked you, like, what time is a good time to show up to avoid a lot of crowds? And you said, yeah, about right when we opened, like 7:30. And
Yeah.
it's great. I mean, I've sent numerous friends there. I mean, I sent the Australians to you.
Yeah.
You know, they had a great time.
Yeah.
You know, I've sent so many people your way. I've met so many people because of the Dojo Bar. Someone who's become a very close, a very dear friend now, Ben Ayer Sensei. You might know him as the kilted karateka.
Yeah, Ben, yeah.
If you've never seen a Scotsman in nothing but a kilt practice karate, go check him.
Yeah, it does have his very distinctive look.
You know, I think you really hit the nail on the head that the Dojo Bar represented a place for people of like-mindedness to get together and share their like-mindedness.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that alone, I think, is what made the Dojo Bar so special. I mean, it was a bit heart-wrenching to hear that it was being closed down. But
Well, I mean,
you understand your decision.
To be honest, I'll be absolutely honest. Before I arrived at the decision, it was difficult. Once I'd arrived at the decision, it was almost like a weight off my shoulders. So, you know, the tough thing to say is that anybody running a business in Okinawa this year is having a hard time of it. And I know, and that's the same for so many small business people all around the world at the moment. So actually, I think the break is a healthy thing. And it's a chance to kind of refresh and come back come back with more energy, come back with something that's going to be right for hopefully 2021, right?
That's the hope. Well, again, I want to thank you, James Sensei, for sitting down. I mean, this allowed me to explore one of my favorite niches in history, which is karate history, Dojo Bar history. I really wish that we were happening and you were in the Dojo Bar for this, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
I really hope everyone who's watching this has had a great time learning about the idea and the history behind why James did the Dojo Bar and the significance that continues with it today. I think, like you said, there's the physical Dojo Bar and then there's the spiritual aspect of the Dojo Bar, and they're really joined by one idea, but they're two separate entities. He's grown out to the Atsato Dojo, which is now arguably one of the best dojos in the Naha area to get to. I will warn you, if you do go there, be prepared to sweat, even in the middle of winter. James does not believe in air conditioning because he's a bit of a punisher that way.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of history there. And Shirei, though he's mentioned a couple of times, is arguably the most well-known place to get your karate gear. James has his Facebook page. He also has a YouTube channel, which just started very recently, and it's called the Karate Life.
Oh, so the Karate Pursuit, yeah. So this is where the Let's Tour Okinawa programs are going. The Karate Pursuit. It's actually Becca Tedder's channel. Becca is kind of my assistant at my dojo, and
I don't think the dojo exists without Becca.
Yeah. No, she's my right-hand girl, so to speak, and but she's doing a great job of running that channel. We're all helping out with that one. So yeah, please check it out, the Karate Pursuit. Now,
I know this kind of sounds like a big plug for the Dojo Bar. It kind of is, kind of isn't. But one thing I will mention, if the Hokama Sensei's museum interested you, that tour is coming up. Keep a lookout at the Karate Pursuit. There's other tours coming on, and I doubt this will be the first time or the last time they visit Hokama Sensei's dojo.
Every tour that we do, we publish a higher quality version, an edited version online afterwards. So the advantage, obviously, of the live Zoom tour is that we often have a Q&A where participants are able to actually interact during the session, but we almost always record a higher quality version and post that online afterwards. So even if you're late to the event, you can enjoy that.
Yeah. Now, again, I want to thank everyone for watching. You allow me to show you a little bit more into one of my favorite parts of history, which is karate history. This was important to me because as James has been interviewed many, many times, he's never actually had the story of the Dojo Bar told. If you piece together all the interviews, you get a little bit of it, but this is the first one I wanted to capture that piece of history. So again, thank you very much to James Sensei for taking time out of your day for sitting down with me. And thank you to everyone for watching. You can see links in the description to all the sites and everything we've mentioned, should this kind of area of history interest you. And as always, happy wandering.
Today's sponsor, and that is the Isato Dojo, located in Naha, Okinawa, Japan. Have you ever wanted to study karate in Okinawa, but simply the travel costs prohibit you from doing so? Well, then the Isato Dojo might be a great place for you to get online instruction from respected and renowned masters throughout the island. They offer a wide variety of different styles and instructions that you can apply to, and you can learn all of this from their Facebook page, which you can find a link for in the description below. So, if you want to study Okinawan karate, the Isato Dojo is where you want to go to do that.